Well, hello everyone. This is AL Thick Madame. I am so sorry for the delay. I have been working a whole lot, and even though I've seen this maybe the day after, within the first 24 hours, I was swamped with work, working so much. As you can see by the humongous bags under my eyes, in connection with my anemia. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm so tired. But anyway, I digress. Let's get on to the review for Ready to Love. Y'all, excuse me, I'm freezing as usual because, like I just said, I'm anemic, so I gotta bundle up a little bit. So, y'all, the episode started basically where it left off, and Alexis and Divine were going back and forth with one another. Y'all, I laughed throughout that whole scene because it was just so crazy. So Alexis had the gall, she had the audacity, she had the nerve, she just did not care to just say these petty things to Divine. And she was just like, look, I'm not about to fight you for, somebody who's a joke. She kept reading London, and I was just like, oh my gosh, why you read this man? She was talking about the man weight, talking about he had a pot belly, I think, his belly or something. And I'm like, girl, at one point in time, you had eyes for him too, so why are you trying to act as if that stomach wasn't there when you was, all, into the fact that he was trying to be into you when he initially was into someone else. And he actually started splitting his time between you and Divine. Why are you trying to act like you don't know what it was? Like, girl, and now you're trying to act all petty. Y'all, then Alexis spilled some random tea. Now, this is what the tea was. She said, well, did he tell you about when I met up with him? And so she was like, no. So apparently they had left. They were leaving this place. And she was going to actually go and see Brent. She had apparently left her keys in her car, locked them in there, and he paid to have a locksmith come out, unlock the car for her to retrieve her keys. And then he pulled her in for a kiss. And y'all, when I tell you, I'm like, girl, why are you so petty? She had the nerve to say, girl, I don't understand. Because the kiss basically said the kiss was trash. Everything about him is trash. And you look thirsty. You look thirsty. You look desperate. She just kept reading London and Divine. Now keep in mind, the only people that are in the room are Tommy and the other ladies. So while this exchange is going on, London is not aware of it, and it's just a mess. It gets to the point where Tommy has to be like, look, y'all gotta calm down. This is supposed to be a classy moment. Y'all are supposed to be classy ladies. So, this don't need to be going on. I was just like, oh my gosh. But she was reading, talking about how he's a terrible kisser and all that. And I'm just like, girl, you did not have to do that. Y'all, so after everything was all said and done, Tommy was like, well, basically, since everybody's trying to act like they just have this strong connection, instead of 3 couples, they're not going to eliminate anybody, and they're going to have 4 couples. So the last thing that they were going to do was meet one another's family. So the first person that they had meet some family was, that's later. So what happened before that even happened? Divine needed to meet up with London to discuss, some things that had come out at the meeting at the wine bar when Alexis said all the stuff she was saying. And it's crazy because it's like, for you to try to act as though you weren't bothered, you acted bothered in that moment. No, excuse me, I'm trying my best not to yawn, but I'm so exhausted. Anyway, so she met up with him, and he's being his normal let me be all chipper and happy self. And he goes to kind of try to approach her. And he was like, woo, it's kind of chilly. You know, he already could tell that, you know, she was in a mood, the vibe was off. And so she was like, well, you know, something rubbed me the wrong way. And it went down at the wine bar. So he looking like, what happened? What's going on? So she proceeds to tell him everything that was said. And he denies everything. Like, he really was sitting there like he really was looking like, I can't believe these things were said. What is going on here? And it's like, I'm 50-50 on it because he has lied before. He has said things before. And it's like, can you be trusted in this moment? Because, you know, as of right now, he's trying to say that Alexis is making up things. She's making up the fact that he paid for all this stuff. He was like, well, you remember what happened when we left, right? We weren't on the greatest of terms, you know, because when they did leave, she was reading and, you know, a situation did pop off. So, you know, they weren't on the greatest of terms, but ain't no telling. I don't know. Sometimes people are like, well, maybe she needs a moment to kind of clear her head. Now let me come back and approach her again. You know, it could have been a situation like that. I don't know. I think some stuff is going to come out of the reunion because, just in case you didn't know, and this might be your first time ever seeing the show, they have reunions for this. I myself didn't even know the first season until it just appeared randomly on the DVR that night while I was in the middle of watching something else. And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't even know they were going to have a reunion, because if they advertised it, I didn't see any advertisement for it. So anyway, there is a reunion, and I guess it come on next week. But anyway, back to this review, recap, whatever you want to call it. Y'all, he, like I said, he denied everything. And he was just like, he just got to a point where every time that she brought something up, he was just like, I don't understand. Why does it seem like everybody is so concerned with what we got going on? Why is everybody concerned with our relationship? And she was like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And she was like, you know, I've always been there for you. I've always had your back. I've always been riding for you. And I'm like, girl, yeah, that's true. But he's basically made you look like a fool quite a few times. Like, she has looked as though she's had egg on her face a few times, whether she wants to admit it or not, especially when she is faced with said people who are reading her, namely Alexis. Y'all, so it just got to a point where, you know, they seemed like they had a good meeting and the air was clear, and she was just like, all I know. She was like, well, I already knew the truth, but, you know, I just wanted to hear from your mouth. And I'm just like, girl, whatever. Anyway, y'all. So Brent and Alexis met up, and they're going to actually meet up with his mama, which whom he looks like, except like he's a darker version of her. I was like, oh, she seems really sweet, y'all. So, you know, the meeting went well. It seemed like it went all right. And she was like, you know, I want some grandbabies. And so she was like, well, you know, I want to have some kids, you know, several children. And so, you know, she just looking like, ooh, I'm here for that. So I'm just like, Lord, this is music to his mama's ears. And Alexis actually went into detail about some things that had been going on. I think it was Brent's mama and Brent's aunt who were there. And so she was like, his mama was like, oh, well, I heard about what happened at the cabin, so you know what's going on. And it got to a point where she actually told them what was going on. Meaning, she was like, you know, I, you know, was here for somebody else, and they turned out to be completely different from what I thought they would be. And then I was like, ooh, in a way I would feel like that was kind of like a slap in the face, but Brent kind of feels as though he is number one. And I'm like, I'm gonna need for you to understand something, whether this is just a game she playing because she's on this TV show and getting, you know, screen time or whatever. You need to understand that she has been playing her cards right. She already knew that so many people were here for her. And I don't know if they saw what I saw, but to me, she looked, at moments, random moments, she'd be looking like Toni Braxton. I've said that since I did the little intro video where I was just saying to y'all, I'm just going to tell y'all who these people are that are going to be as far as castmates, and who they look like and what they say they are doing and how old they are, all that stuff. And y'all, I mean, it seemed like it went well. Y'all, anyway, moving right along. Tandy met up with Mario's people. So it was Mario's mama, I think his daughter, and one of his cousins. So when Tandy got to the house, she greeted Mario. And, she gave him a hug, and, like, she's very touchy-feely. And his mama and them was like, man, she real touchy-feely. And that basically was like, I ain't here for that. That's too much. I don't like all that. And I was like, oh, Lord, this is finna go crazy. This might go left. So she went in there, and, he introduced her. And, she introduced herself as well. And so they started talking to her. And it got to a point where, the pleasantries, kind of went away. And it was kind of like, okay, so do you know about his dark side? And so her ears perked up, and she was like, well, nah, what's going on? What I need to know about? And his daughter was like, yeah, he, can be very mean. And he starts yelling and little stuff like that. And so Tanya was just like, look, he can do what he do, but I can get down with the best of them. But, I understand how you might get frustrated or whatever in a situation. Y'all, it was just... Y'all, okay, I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. So, for those of y'all who saw it, y'all know what I'm talking about. Mario felt the need to have his people to answer whether or not he's controlling. And I'm like, for you to have your own people to be like, hey, y'all, answer this question for her. Am I controlling? I was just like, we know you are. We saw when the ex was like, I can't even wear blue nail polish, and you called around to everywhere you could find, trying to find somebody to remove said blue nail polish. Like, you doing the most. And you can tell by the things that he said in his confessionals that he's very controlling, whether he wants to admit it or not. So, I mean, that's not even a question. But he felt the need to ask his people to, confirm. And they were like, no, he's not controlling. He's just controlling over his own life, not over anybody else. And I'm like, of course you would say that, because you want this person to be married off and somewhere off with somebody else or whatever. So of course you're going to say that about your son. Of course you're going to say that about your father. Of course you're going to say that about your cousin if you're very close with him. And I was just like, oh gosh, I can't. Like, y'all, this is too much. So then they were like, what is your dark side? And so she was like, dark side. So then they were like, well, what was the worst thing that you've ever done? And so she let it be known that she spray painted somebody's car. And then they were like, oh, you might just fit in. You might fit in just right. So he was just over there eating his food. Like, let me just be quiet while they, had a moment. Okay. So, she seems like a shoe-in. I don't know. I am very much so excited to see what the updates are going to be for this couple. Because I already said what I said as far as how I don't think that Mario is a good fit for her, only because of his controlling nature. He wants to run the show. If you are wearing certain things and saying certain things, he ain't here for it. And it's just like, you have to let people be themselves. If you're not with somebody and you can allow them, and you can't allow them to be themselves, then you don't need to be with them. You want to sit up there and control their every move, then there is no reason for you to sit up there and do all of that. You shouldn't have to do that in order to be with somebody. You got to be in control of everything they say, do, wear, and everything else. Like, that's too much. Like, I can't. Y'all, so anyway, They kind of flew through the other people. Darren wasn't there because, as I had mentioned before in my last video, his father had a heart attack, and so he had to fly to Detroit or somewhere. Wherever his father resides is where he had to go and fly and be by his bedside. So he wasn't there. So we haven't seen anything with Ashima for like 2 weeks. And Divine, before Divine actually had her family to meet London, what happened was they showed London his family actually flying in. So apparently he's very close to his father. He talks about his father a whole lot to Divine, and she's very fully aware of how close he is to him. And he hates flying, but for his son, he flew in for this meeting and all this other stuff. So London was like, well, him doing that, that shows you what kind of cloth that I'm cut from. So I was like, oh, okay, not really, but you know, hopefully you're not lying. Like, I'm really feeling like you are when it comes to some of this stuff that Alexis has said. I do feel like part of what she's saying is her being petty and putting a little bit more on it than what it is, but I don't know. We're going to see at the reunion. I want somebody to do some lie detector tests. That's what I want to do. I just really feel like some stuff need to happen, especially when Alexis mentioned something about him putting her and Divine on three-way, and she basically was, you know, told to be quiet so that certain information can be said so that she can hear it out of her own, hear him say certain things and Divine say certain things or whatever. Like, it's like, this is a game. Like, you're literally on a show, but at the same time, you're playing games with people's livelihood. Don't nobody have time. Y'all, anyway, I digress. So, his parents came. He actually cooked. And, you know, they had a really nice conversation. And Divine keeps rubbing me as this somewhat crazy person. Because who sits up there and says that, you know, you have already named a child that has not even been conceived yet, that you're trying to make it seem as though you and London are going to conceive, and you've named it Paris. And so they're like, oh, well, have you heard of this? Have y'all discussed this before? And he's looking like, nah, this is news to me. And he looking kind of like, okay, this is a little crazy. So, y'all, I can't. But the meeting seemed to have gone well. And then later on, Divine's aunt, I think, met up with the both of them, and it kind of seemed like everybody was like, oh, they're on board with that. Gave them the green light. Alexis, her mother, I think, met up with them, and they had a pretty decent meeting. And who else, y'all? Oh, yeah. Tandi's mama, I think, and her daughter, they all met up with Mario, and they kind of grilled him, and they were like, look, my mama, she kind of like one of a kind, and she a certain way, like, what you trying to do? And like, he basically did like an interview, and he answered accordingly. Like, that's just the way that's the only way I could put it. That's really how it went from what I saw. So, you know, they seemed to be cool with it, and I was like, okay, all right, y'all. So the last part of the show was basically showing all of the couples going to a random place in Georgia. I don't remember if all the locations were in Atlanta, but yeah, random locations. And what they were doing was they had one of the people to stand and wait and see if somebody would show up. The other person would show up. And basically, if the other person didn't show up, that showed that they were not ready to love, and they weren't, you know, really vibing as well with that person as they thought they initially were. So, you know, they would just leave empty-handed with nobody and all that. So, let me see. Let me do Ashima first. So, like I told y'all before, Darren hasn't been around, but she was letting everybody. Tommy actually met up with her. Before I get to that, Tommy met up with her in this park and was talking to her and was like, the situation that's been going on with Darren's father, has that, made y'all's relationship stronger or what? And so she was like, yes, it has definitely made our relationship stronger. And he has assured me that he's going to show up. But, she said that she knew that he would show up, but she wasn't for sure, so to speak. So he actually came and they met like on this bridge that had like a little creek or pond or something running under it, and it seemed pretty cool. Met up with her, brought her a bouquet of roses, flowers, whatever flowers, and he was like, oh, you look good. And I was like, oh Lord. So they were talking and he was just like, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you, and given the fact that part of the journey had me away from you, for me to know that I had somebody waiting for me when I got back home was an amazing feeling. And she apparently sent words of encouragement to his father, which he relayed to him, and he said that he appreciated that. His father is recovering. Apparently he's doing a lot better, at least since this episode. I don't know what developments have happened, but that's what we were told within this episode. So they basically made it seem like they were cool, they're good, and she was like, look, I guess I can compromise on the dogs and all this other stuff. So, they try to act like they're going to be together. And so they walking off, right? And she was like, can I take my shoes off? Would that be country me if I take my shoes off? And he was like, well, how about I just pick you up and carry you? So he picked her up so terrible and carried her because she had on some kind of heels. And I was like, oh, okay, that was cute. They did kiss a couple of times and all that, but I guess they got their rainbow, their pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, that's a little cute. Y'all, London and Divine. Oh, Lord. So London was like, look, I'm waiting on Divine to get here. I want to be able to, speak my piece and let her know why I did what I did and all this other stuff. And I'm like, Lord have mercy, sir. So, of course, Divine showed up. I'm looking like, why wouldn't she? Like, girl. So she showed up and he was just like, look, you have always been my number one. Of course you gonna say that. Of course you would say that, sir. And so she was like, I already knew, whatever, y'all. So they gonna, y'all, and of course one of the first things she gonna say is, so we go together, right? Like, I'm like, girl, why you say that? Like, she has said that since like the beginning of this show to myself, so we go together, right? And I'm like, and I mean, she was dead serious back then, even if she would like to try to lie and make it seem like, no, I was just joking. But yeah, now at the end, I really do mean, are we actually together? So they are supposed to be an item or working towards something, y'all. Y'all, so Alexis and Brent, y'all, they kept dragging Alexis's situation out, and I was so tired. They had her waiting at that place where people get up in the little Ferris wheel. I don't forgot what it's called. It's like a overlook thing. I don't forgot what it's called, but a lot of these reality TV shows show people going up in there. Anyway, it don't matter. She's waiting. And she's waiting so long, or at least they're having us to believe that she's waiting so long that one of the people that works at the place was like, can I help you with something? And so she was like, no, I think I'm fine. Wanted to know if she wanted to buy some more tickets or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh. So they really drug it out. Like, they kept panning back and forth, going back and forth between other couples, and then just showing her by herself, and then her having a voiceover. And I'm like, girl, because she's trying to figure out, has he gone home and thought about, oh, all this stuff she's been putting me through, all these people. Every night I got to fight to prove my love, fooling with her. So, eventually he did show up with a single rose. And I mean, I rolled my eyes, but then when I saw it, it was like a huge rose. So I don't know if that's, forgivable or whatever. I don't know. Because I was like, why did he was he late? Like, what happened? Or, like I said, are they really trying to make us think that all this time went by? Y'all, so they talked, and basically, they're going to try to embark on that journey together, whatever. Y'all, so last but certainly not least is Mario and Tandy. So Mario was waiting somewhere with a bouquet of roses, and Tanya rolled up, y'all. Tanya rolled up. She had this outfit on, and I was just like, "Ma'am, you better wear that outfit." I don't know if it was a jumper. See, I'm not into fashion like that, as you can see. But I was like, I don't know what kind of jumper this is you got on. She had on an all black, whatever it is, bodysuit. I was like, "Ma'am, you better snatch that waist in and had that booty poking out." Her booty was setting it off. I was just like, yes, ma'am. The makeup was nice. Like, to me, she did not overdo it. I don't know if anybody else thinks otherwise, but I think she looked really, really, really nice. And she rolled up, and he was just like, "Oh my gosh, you showed up," and all that, y'all. So, of course, they enjoyed themselves, and they ended up being together. And he was like, "I got a surprise for you." And he pulled out this box. I'm like, it's not a ring box. So, I mean, if it is, like, I don't know. Anyway, what was in the box was the same ring that he presented to her before when they went to that pottery class, but he had it painted orange, at least the spot where the diamond or whatever would be, because orange apparently is her favorite color. And so he was like, "I listen." So she was like, "You listen to me?" He was like, "Yeah, I listen." So, she loved it. And he put it like on this really thin necklace. And he was like, "I'm gonna say the real thing for your actual ring finger someday," and all that. And so, they supposed to be, getting together or whatever. I don't know. I'm just trying to see what this reunion gonna give. I just need to know. Because that's all I'm really trying to see. Because I think that that's really going to show some stuff. Because they kept showing little bits and pieces. And I was like, ooh, Lord. Ooh, Lord. There's a lot going on. Anyway, y'all. I'm sorry that my energy is low. But I've had a really long day. A long month. Long year. Long couple of years, to be honest. But I really do appreciate everybody who has subscribed to me, who has commented, and the ones who actually encourage me and pray for me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. I hope y'all have a wonderful night, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.